Well, I tell you, this first spot is one that's going to shake you up. Our first guest today wrote the lyrics to a big-selling record album based on a 2,000-year-old story. And we'll meet him in a moment as soon as we've said hello to our young panel here on Tell the Truth.
Tom Poston. Peggy Cash. Bill Cullen. Former Miss America, Sharon K. Richards.
Such a display of necklaces as we have, Miss Peggy and Miss Sharon. Isn't that something?
Ready?
Listen, by way of introducing our first guest, I would like you to listen to a small part of an extremely controversial new album. Some people are shocked by it deeply. Others find it magnificent. Indeed, one critic has called this the single most important recording of our time. So listen to it. Hosanna, hey, Zanna, 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 Hosanna, hey, Zanna, Hosanna. We're getting recognition all up and down the panel. Peggy, you're the one who smiled first.
It's Jesus Christ Superstar.
That's exactly what it is. The name of the album is Jesus Christ Superstar. And before you decide that it is sacrilegious or that it is irreverent, hear the story. Let's meet the young man who wrote the lyrics to this much talked about LP.
Number one, what is your name, please?
My name is Tim Rice.
Number two.
My name is Tim Rice.
Number three.
My name is Tim Rice.
And we have to find out which one is the real Tim Rice, and this is the way the story goes. I, Tim Rice, am a lyricist. Together with composer Andrew Lloyd Webber, I've made an 87-minute LP album based on the last 7 days of Christ. The story of the passion and death of Jesus has great relevance today. So in an effort to humanize the drama, we use the music, language, and attitudes of today. While the dominant beat is rock, we have used a wide variety of musical forces, a full symphony orchestra, 3 choirs, 10 principal solo singers, and a 6-piece rock rhythm section. Our aim is simply to tell a great story about a great man in a new way. We call our rock opera Jesus Christ Superstar. Signed, Tim Rice. And while we mull this over for a moment, you stand by and let us pay some bills. Now, let's remember that all 3 of these gentlemen claim to be the lyric writer of Jesus Christ Superstar. And let's start the question with Tom Poston, please.
I was just curious. Number 3, why Superstar?
Well, it's just,
Not while he was alive.
it's a very modern word which I think describes what Christ was.
In modern times or in those times? Number 2, if Christ were with us today, if he were born into this world, with what group do you think he might identify more than others?
With us. With the long hair.
With us with the long hair? Well, I suppose so. Number 1, he was sort of a rebel in his own time, wasn't he? Was there any irreverence intended, number 1, in the title or the work that you have...
Certainly not. No.
Well, that's what I understand. Number 3, where is it performing now?
It's not. It's only a record at the moment.
Oh, aren't you planning to perform it someplace, number 3?
Yes, we hope to, but it's only a record at the moment.
I see. I thought it was performing now. Number 2, is it? You devil. Is it performing someplace now?
No.
Don't you shake your gory locks at me, number 2.
After the show.
After the show, okay. Number 1, how did you get interested in this particular subject, or were you always?
I suppose everybody's had a grounding in religion at one time or another. For me, it became a re-examination of my own upbringing, cultural background.
Thank you, Tom. And that takes us to, oh boy, Peggy Cash knows rock from top to bottom and religion as well. So we're going to turn you loose, kid.
Number 3, what symphony orchestra did you use in the recording?
Well, we didn't actually use any one orchestra. We just used session musicians.
Thank you. Number 1, was this work commissioned?
Certainly not, no.
Thank you. Number 2, what is Mary Magdalene's song?
Mary Magdalene's
Yeah.
song? Mary Magdalene.
Okay, number one, what's Judas's song?
Which one?
Well, name two.
The introduction. The Heaven on the Mind.
Thank you. Number three, what group were you with before?
I've never been with a group.
Thank you. Number two, what group were the Gibbs brothers with?
I couldn't tell you right off.
Number one, which rock and roll star died in a swimming pool?
Brian Jones.
Thank you. Number three, who recorded Tommy?
The Who.
Thank you. Number two, where's Tommy been performed in London?
I couldn't tell you.
Number one, could you tell me where it was performed in New York?
Fillmore East, possibly.
Thank you. Number...
Thank you, Peggy, and that takes us to Bill Cullen.
I defer to Peggy. She may have my... You know, I really would have learned a great deal from those answers if I knew any of the answers to those questions she asked. Number one.
You know, it's kind of interesting. If somebody asks a question like, what is so-and-so,
And they get
the
an
answer
answer.
comes back, who?
Right. And you have no...
And who doesn't sound like an answer, does it? It sounds like another question.
Sounds like Abbott and Costello is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
Number one, how is the resentment toward this particular album been shown? I mean, what's happening to you economically? Number one.
Well, one would have to categorize that in terms of the United States and
Yes.
Britain. It's doing very well here, but in England it was a flop.
Number three, how many radio stations that you know of refuse to play this?
I don't know any sort of facts and figures. I do know there was a move in Arkansas not to play it, but I think that was only on the single.
Oh, really? Just in Arkansas?
That's all I've heard of, but it's not really, you know.
Number two, you mentioned that you really wanted to tell a story. Are you a religious person?
I recognize in the spiritual side of my own life.
Were you ever a religious person? Number two?
And there goes the buzzer, which carries us to Sharon K. Ritchie.
Number three, what record company put out the record?
Decca.
Decca Records. And it's selling well here in the United States?
Yes.
Is that right? What city in the South do they record a lot of country music? Nashville. Darn. Number two, do a lot of churchmen write you letters about this? Has it stirred up a great controversy?
Oh, yes, a great deal of people. Not so much controversy as another idea way of producing the same story. So, you know, for different people to interpret their own way.
Number one, how did your folks feel about your putting out this record? Did the neighbors throw rocks at them and things like that?
No, not really. I'm my mother's blue boy child, so no problem.
Okay, that's it. We have to make up our minds which one we think it is. We mark our ballots, and we mark them for one, or for two, or for three. We pay $50 for each wrong ballot. We pay $500 if nobody comes up with the right answer. And Tom Poston, you want to start, my friend?
Well, the best I could do was number three. I got a sign.
From above.
There was
You have
a sign.
Divine sign. Very well. And Peggy?
See, the number three answered them all right. Number one only made one mistake, but it's such a... he could be it anyway, because they didn't play at the Fillmore, Tommy. They did it at the Philharmonic. But I voted for three.
You voted for three.
Yeah.
Okay. Bill Cullen, what do you think?
Well, I realized that it could have been number one, that he only made that mistake, and it wasn't necessarily the Fillmore. I mean, I grasped that the moment it occurred.
Like,
And for that reason, I voted for number three. I thought it might be the Fillmore.
here's a guess if I ever saw one. And Sharon Gay, what are you going to do?
Well, I too voted for number three. It was just something about him that gave me this feeling.
If you'll think back to yesterday, that we all went out on a limb on Lee Wolf, the great fisherman, and here again, we're going out. Everybody says they think it's number three. What do you think at home? Are they right? Will the real Tim Rice please stand up? Good job, panel, unfortunately. Let's find out about your friends. Number one, what is your blue-eyed name, and what do you really do?
My name is Michael Haynes. I'm an art teacher touring the United States.
Thank you. Number two, what is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Evram Risk. I'm from New Zealand, and
For a job, I travel and work in a bar on the east side of Manhattan.
Tim, I should think, well, first of all, let's establish the popularity of the record. Where does it stand now in America?
Well, there's an awful lot of different charts, but I think we're in the top 5 in most of them.
What about the LP one?
That is the album.
The album, which runs 87 minutes, is now number 3 on the charts. I looked it up.
I think on one of them,
just
yeah.
before the show. Can you account for any reason why it did not go well in England and has been going very well here?
I think the main reason probably is the lack of radio play in England. I mean, over here, there's so many stations have played the whole thing. And people have the chance to say, I like it or I hate it. In England, no one's heard it, you know, because we only have one channel which only plays singles.
Ah, I see. So you don't get the impact of the whole thing. Of course, the title is a shocker and sounds irreverent when you say Jesus Christ Superstar.
I don't think so. I think that the people who get shocked are the people who aren't really that religious. The reaction from the clergy and the churchmen has been excellent. I think people who've rejected Christianity and religion like to think of it as something establishment that never gets harmed, whereas anybody who actually bothers to think about Christ realizes that if he's to have any relevance at all, then he must have relevance for all times and for all people in all ways. Therefore, Jesus Christ Superstar, Jesus Christ in blue jeans, Jesus Christ in anything is very valid.
Well, on that basis, my friends, I advise you to give it a listen, and I think you'll admire it. And thank you, Tim Rice and friends, for being here with us on To Tell the Truth. Our next guest has just been appointed to one of the most important positions in the U.S. Navy. Now, we'll meet this guest right after we move ahead with a few commercials. Here we go. Now, let's meet a captain in the United States Navy.
Number 1, what is your name, please?
My name is Robin Quigley.
Number 2.
My name is Robin Quigley.
Number 3.
My name is Robin Quigley.
Fascinating. All right. Here is Robin Quigley's story. I, Captain Robin Quigley, am the new director of the Waves. I am the 8th woman to hold this office since the founding of this women's arm of the U.S. Navy during World War II. Now is a particularly exciting time to take on this job because of increasing emphasis on individualism in the Navy as in the rest of society. The Women's Lib movement is highlighting the part that women can play in many different areas of work. And naturally, this expanding role affects the Waves. Service to our country runs in my family. My grandfather was an Army dentist, my brother-in-law was a Marine, and my father is a retired Air Force colonel. Signed, Captain Robin Quigley. She has so many members of the armed forces in her family that next Christmas Bob Hope is going to her house to entertain. The whole thing all at once. Let's start. I made it up. I wasn't telling the truth. Let's start with Sharon K. Ritchie.
Number 3, approximately how many women enlist in the Waves every year?
We have about 2,000.
About 2,000. Number 3 again is, does this fluctuate a lot every year? Has there been different periods, say in the last 20 years, when more have enlisted?
Yes, over a 20-year period, it would fluctuate.
Tell me, number 2, are many of the women in the Waves married?
Some of them are, not too many.
You know, I'm just fascinated. It seems like it would be a rather lonely life and, you know, with so much discipline. Number 1, what time do the Waves get up in the morning to start their workday?
Well, it all depends on the particular branch they're in or the service they're in, usually from 8 to 4.
Thank you, Sharon. Let's go down to Tom Poston.
Number 1, you can't be drafted into the Waves, can you?
No.
No. Number 2, what do Waves actually do? What do Waves do in your service, your branch of the service?
Well, they do all sorts of different jobs. There are clerical jobs, of course. There are personnel management. There are run computers. There are any number of supplementary jobs that they do.
Number 3, do Waves have babies? Married Waves, that is, have babies? Or unmarried, I guess they could. Do Waves are they allowed to have babies and stay Waves?
No. The policy is that we may not have dependents under age 18.
Oh, and then sometimes, I suppose, number 1, a lot of them do have children who are grown.
Yes.
What is the age limit, number 2, for a wave entering the service?
20,
On the top side.
number 2,
Yes, ma'am.
27.
Oh, then they really can't, number 3, have grown children, can they?
It would be pretty hard to do.
It'd be hard to be 27 and have a kid 18. Yeah, that's right.
How much is in Peru?
In Peru, yes. Thank you, Peggy. Well, number...
And it takes us to Peggy.
Number one, what's the attitude of women's lib toward the waves?
Well, actually, we have been practicing what they are now preaching, because many of the positions in the Navy are interchangeable between men and women and have been ever since our founding.
Well, number two, do you know whether they've taken any kind of an official position?
Not that I know of.
But number three, women's jobs in the Navy are exactly not interchangeable with the men's, because you don't do, for instance, go out on battleships where you'd be in a danger area. Don't they still sort of, like, protect you? I hope. I'm not for that.
Yeah, we're pretty protected.
Thank you. Number one, I just want to say that hat you got on is adorable. It's sort of like a tiara.
That's right, it is.
What is it, for your fancy dress balls or something?
That's right. I'm wearing the dinner dress uniform,
I love it.
which includes the tiara.
Thank you. Number two, do enlisted girls have to do their own laundry, or can you send it out?
You can send it out. It depends on where you are.
But, thank you.
Thank you, Peggy. And Bill Cullen, you're up.
While we're on the subject, number 1, of that tiara you're wearing, you must be the only person who owns one of those. Is that correct?
No, they may be worn by all officers.
Well, I mean, with the particular bit of scrambled eggs you have on there, that is unique to a captain, is it not?
Commander and above.
A commander and
For the
above.
scrambled eggs.
No, second lieutenant gets scrambled eggs, get powdered eggs. That's what they get.
You're lucky.
Number 3, I don't know if the waves wear this insignia, but the men in the Navy, they wear a thing on their collar. And what denotes a line officer, an officer of the line, on his collar here, number 3, please?
Well, an officer doesn't wear anything on his collar. The insignia that denotes an officer of the line is the star.
And number 1, what is the insignia denoting a doctor in the Navy?
Well, depending upon his rank.
Yeah, no,
All right, Bill, you got hung up in mid-question there. The dinger donged, and we're going to vote. And we're going to vote for number 1, or for number 2, or for number 3. And we're going to pay $50 for each wrong guess. We're going to pay $500 if nobody guesses correctly. Our score has been pretty hot so far this week. Sharon K. Ritchie, you must start.
All right, I vote for number 1. I thought she was knowledgeable, and I love your tiara.
All right, one vote for the tiara and for knowledge, and Tom Poston. What do you think?
I thought it was number 3 until the line officer question came, so I changed to number 1 because it would be impossible to get that suit tailored to fit so beautifully unless it were really her own.
All righty, it's 2 for 1, and Peggy, what do you think?
Well, I thought 3 was very good, but I couldn't vote for her because you could never get your hat on without ruining that hairdo. And number 1, I like the tiara, but I kind of went against her when you have to be some big shot to get all that yellow, and it wouldn't be pretty if it was just navy blue, so I voted for 2.
A fashion hint. Very well. 2 1s and a 2, and Bill Cullen.
Well, the very thing that touted Tom off voting for number 3 is what caused me to vote for it, because the star is an insignia of a line officer, and I was working toward the doctor, and I had intended to go on to dentist after that, which I think should have shown me terribly erudite. But anyway, I took what I had and voted for number 3 because the star is the line officer.
Well, it's spread across the board, and who knows? Well, we know, so let's find out. Will the real Captain Robin Quigley please stand up? Yeah! Very good. Captain Quigley, we'll be back to you in a moment. Number 1, you got 2 wrong votes. What is your real name, please, and what do you do?
My name is Thelma Whitmire, and I'm a housewife.
You deserve to have a tiara. That's hard work.
Thanks.
Number 2, you got 1 wrong vote. What is your real name? What do you do?
My name is Pat O'Hare, and I'm the night owl reporter for the New York Daily News.
How about it? Captain Quigley, aren't you terribly young, unusually young to hold this position?
Well, I'd love to be able to say yes to a question like that. Fairly young, yes.
Well, at your tender age, you are already a captain. Is there any chance that you could become an admiral?
the law now permits women to achieve flag rank. And I think once that we have women who've gone through a career pattern that would lead them to that kind of responsibility and authority, it will happen.
I'm betting on you to make it. And so, Admiral and friends, thank you all very much for being here with us on To Tell the Truth. Well, Sharon K. Ritchie, you batted 500 on your first time on the show. Will you come back and see us?
Oh, I'd love to. I've had a good time. Thank you.
Good. It's been nifty having you. Sharon K. Ritchie, and then the rest of the panel will be back to see you tomorrow, as will I. Take care.
Transportation and other considerations provided by Chevrolet, featuring the 1971 Impala. More wheelbase, more glass, more sound-deadening materials, all at a very Chevrolet price. Hotel accommodations, courtesy of the luxurious Park Sheraton Hotel, home of the famous Mermaid Room, right in the heart of Manhattan and convenient to everything. Prizes or product mentions were furnished and...
This is your whammy. This is your whammy on the all-new Press Your Luck. Any questions? Join Todd Newton as he hosts Whammy, the all-new Press Your Luck.
That hurts. Charming as ever and hip, too.
Weeknights at 10 p.m. only on Game Show Network.